Good evening everyone and welcome to League of Europe F1 2019. It's Division 1 Round 9 here at the Sochi Autodrome. Most famous of course this track because it was the city that hosted the Winter Olympics back in 2014. I know it feels such a short time ago, but it's 5 years ago, believe it or not, since the Winter Olympics was hosted at Sochi in Russia. And now the Olympic Park, the Sochi Olympic Park, has been turned into a racetrack, which we are going to be seeing used for the first time here tonight in League of Europe. Good evening, everyone. I am JamesHead14. I'll be taking you through the action once again here tonight at the Sochi Autodrome. And I think with us coming to Russia, it is obviously race weekend in real life here in Russia, and essentially what we're going to be seeing tonight is a lot of good racing here tonight. We've got some old returning faces to the league here tonight. I am going to run through the latest standings very shortly indeed. However, I will run you through who are the returning drivers first. So we in the Racing Point we have Neo. Good to see Harrison David back in the Mercedes as well. So Neo and Harrison David are back, as well as Mitch Emery. Mitch Emery is back as well, which is fantastic to see. We've also got a few new guys coming into the frame here in Division 1. Killer Blue has been added to a full-time role at Williams. Gary Donegan has joined Ferrari in a full-time role as well. And it's going to be really intriguing to see how these guys do get on. And obviously, and Dakar as well, to point out, has joined Mercedes as well. So Dakar is back. He is back off a, I think, 2-week layoff now. But he is back as well. Coming into the standings, however, though, it is a really, well, yeah, it's not really intriguing. It's really intriguing further down the field in Division 1. Montana running away with things early on in the season. We're about halfway through. We are halfway through in the season after this race. So Montana leads on 177 points, with second going to Rafa in second. He has sadly retired from the championship, 108 points. Harrison David in third. Now, I was chatting to him earlier on in the week. He is running no assists, so don't judge him early on in this race. Judge him in a few races' time, I think, is the message I got with him. And he's in third on 76 points. Hopefully he can add some good points to his tally here tonight. While Luigi in fourth in the Ferrari on 60 points, followed by Cantera in fifth on 49. YHYY in sixth on 47, with Wouters and Maslina seventh and eighth respectively on 45 and 44 points. ILRT Sterling, after a good result in Monaco last week, is in ninth on 39 points. He's still alongside Bullet Boy, and again with a really good result last week on 39 points. June in 11th on 34, with Xjavi in 12th on 33, Rick in 13th on 30, with Dakar in 14th on 21, and then Larkin in 15th on 13 points. So that's the top 15 on the standings. Constructors running away with things again out in front is Williams, 285 points. After obviously only a 1 point score finish, Montana will be hoping, of course, that somebody does join him in that Williams, and Killer Blue is that driver who is joining him in the Williams and hoping to score very valuable points here tonight. We're just about to get underway very shortly indeed. I think we are starting a couple of minutes early, which is good to see. Everyone is ready, so we're going to be starting a couple of minutes early, which is I think the first time it's happened this season in Division 1. But to run you through the rest of the constructors in the meantime, Williams on 285 points, as I've said. Ferrari on 136 points, with Renault in third on 83. Alfa Romeo in fourth on 78, followed by Toro Rosso, possibly going to be named AlphaTauri next season, 2020, on 77 points, only a point behind Alfa Romeo there. Sport Pesa, or Racing Point, 58 points in 6th, with Mercedes in 7th on 54, Red Bull in 8th on 12, McLaren in 9th and 11, and Haas in 10th on 9 points. Sadly, no constructors on the nil point, which I think is very good to see from our perspective. 18 drivers to unfold out on track. Very good attendance as always here in Division 1 of League of Europe, and I'm thrilled to be bringing you the action once again here tonight. And as I said, we have started just a couple of minutes early, which is good to see. Looking at everyone that is joining us in the comment section, of course, if you are just tuning in, maybe from the Division 3 stream, which again has more viewers than us, we should be getting more viewers than them. Killer Blue, the only one to ready up, which he is doing now. Good evening to Mark. Good evening to Montana. Old School saying Neo was the all-time point scorer and multiple world champion here in PRL, Precision Wrestling League and League of Europe. Mitch Emery, season 17 and season 16 champion before season 1. And Harrison, of course, is back and he is the current reigning and defending champion out on track here tonight. Qualifying has just started. We should be getting the drivers out on track very shortly indeed. Harrison also coming in, by the way, in the comment section saying that he will get disqualified. We'll see how that pans out during qualifying, I'm pretty sure. I don't think disqualification will occur for Harrison David. And if it does, then I'll be very shocked. 18 turns here round the track tonight at Sochi. I have a feeling that Montana will be the first one out on track. We'll go on board with him, and predictably so, he is the first one out on track. Fantastic stuff. He's on a soft compound of tyres. The 3 compound of tyres available to the drivers here tonight: softs, mediums and hards. Soft tyres that you are seeing, the Red Bull tyre, is the softest and the fastest of the 3 compound of tyres that you are seeing out on track as it goes through the flat 180-degree turn at turn 3, right next to the Sochi Autodrome at the Sochi the big stadium in Sochi. I forgot the name of it, but this was, of course, the host of the Winter Olympics in 2014, as I said at the start of the stream. And bit of a fun fact, this track here in Russia, and in fact in Russia, Sochi is actually on the sea. There is seaside right just beside this track, pretty much about half a mile inland from the Caspian Sea here in Sochi. So that's a little bit of a fun fact for you guys, for you fact geeks out there. But Sochi, 18 turns, 2 DRS zones. One of the DRS zones is just down the straight that Montana is going down. Of course, one between turn 1 and turn 2, which is essentially the kink going beside the pit wall. That is turn 1. Down into turn 2 is the right-hander, and then into the little left kink, and then round the full 180-degree corner at turn 3. Very interesting look this is going to be. As we ride on board then with Montana, the current leader of the championship. We're 9 rounds through, of course. This is the 9th round of the championship, and Montana set to bat his lap and is going to power onto his lap. We should see the car reach around 200, easily over 200 mile an hour, maybe even 210 mile an hour, reaching towards turn 2 here. Down into the braking zone. Ice hockey arena on the right hand side. Montana brakes it nicely. Lovely, lovely apex through there. Now coming through turn 3. Flat through turn 3, taking as little apex as possible, trying to save as much ground as possible. Stadium on the left hand side, the main arena. There's the ice hockey stadium on the curling arena on the left hand side as well, as we go through sector 1, 32.9 as you come through turn 5, now into the second sector. Very technical middle sector this. These corners especially can catch the driver out, the back end can kick out quite a lot. Yellow flag from sector 3, I wouldn't worry about that at all. Montana flying on this track as he now goes beside the ice hockey arena on the right hand side. Again, I forget, there's the Olympic Village on the left hand side now, coming through onto the start, onto the back straight between turns 11 and 12. Now the DRS is open, should reach easily 200 mile an hour down the straight once again. Down into the heavy braking zone through turn 12, now into turn 13, which is the right hander here. Then under the bridge at turn 14. Really, really technical final sector this is. This chicane and this little uphill rise catches out at about 10 metre rise there. Montana coming through into turn 16, then into turn 17. Second to last corner here. This is looking for a very competitive lap to begin off with. This is going to be a 130 to kick us off. Montana across the line, 130.8. I think that can be beaten though. Montana, very nice lap, and that is a lap of Sochi with the current championship leader. Chapelelli is coming into the pits. In the meantime, we're on board with Daka, who is just coming through the final 2 corners now in the Mercedes. Good to see him back, of course, in League of Europe. Gary Donegan goes up to second in the meantime with a 31.9. I think Daka is going to better this through the final corner. 31.2. Bollard flying out the way there from the Williams. That was Killer Blue, I think, just in behind, starting a lap. Let's have a look then at Mitch Emery, who I think is actually off a lap here. Yeah, he's going to let McLaren through him behind, I think, which might be V5 HRL. It is V5 HRL just in behind them, so we'll catch on board with V5H as he comes through turn 13, now into 14, 15 and 16. This is turn 15. Kuki Games debutant last week, of course, in Monaco, 32 flat. Harrison David goes into second with a 31.1. Clearly the no assist, not really impacting on his performance so far as we approach 5 minutes through in qualifying. V5H through the final corner. Bit of a banker lap there from him, I think, 33.5, nice competitive lap. There is a racing point just in behind him. Neo has actually gone second with a 31.1, so the German goes second ahead of the Brit Harrison David in third. But 5 minutes through qualifying, Montana, Neo, Harrison David, 3/10 separating the top three with Dakar in fourth. And in fact, Joom has just gone second. So pardon me, Joom has just gone second now. The roller coaster just off it to the left-hand side of the camera shot, which you saw on the start-finish straight. So Joom has gone second now with a 30.8. I'm trying to give you as much facts as possible of this track. Killer Blue now through turn 16, now into 17 and 18. Final two corners, of course, filling in for Rafa, who was sadly retired from the championship. Killer Blue ran the final corner. This is going to be very close to third. 7 tenths off Montana, end of the day. Marcelino has gone sixth as well, with a 31.3. Nice lap from him, just cuts the bollard off. There, just flings it slightly. Killer Blue going off track limits. The track limits have actually changed on this track at turn 2. It's more of a chicane now than it is actually you can run it flat out. So the track limits have changed in real life. It hasn't been replicated, however, on the new update 1.12. Cantera in the meantime on a lap, the Spaniard. He's got a bit of bump drafting going on here. That is Joom ahead of him, who's just came off a lap. Cantera, beautifully done I think between the two Spaniards, and Cantera 104.4 through the middle sector. Looking a very nice lap as he dives into turn 13. Now through 14, the left-hander, 90-degree turn. Then up towards 15 and 16. Again, catch the rise, catch the apex on the entry into the corner. Very nice through there. Cantera now through turn 16. Then into 17 and 18, the final two corners out on track. Comes through the final two corners now. Going to be very competitive. Is going to go ahead of Montano, I think, here. Cantera, ooh, very close. 700ths off in the end. Cantera, 30.9. Could have got a little bit of a better run at the final corner, but that's just me being a little bit picky there. Schiaparelli, in the meantime, has just started the lap. He's on the set of soft compound of tyres, not on a set of mediums, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. Right on board with Schiaparelli as he flies through turn 3. There's the Fish Stadium as well on the left-hand side. There's the curling arena. Schiaparelli now coming through into turn 5, 32.9 through the first sector. Not too bad at all from the Red Bull driver. The German hoping to make amends from last week's result, which of course Schiaparelli did not actually start last week, and he's had 2 DNFs to his name before that, so he really needs to try and pick up his form, and faster I think, to try and score any sort of points here. 3 points to his name from China, and that's the only points he scored this season, as he now comes down the straight. DRS enabled, running down the straight. ERS mode 4 he is in, that is high mode here in on the energy recovery system. I will talk a bit more about that hopefully in the race. Schiaparelli in the meantime as he reaches the rise at turn 15. Bit of a shocking camera angle there, I've got to be honest, and he loses the car on the inside of the curb, catches the rise, caught the apex nicely, but he spins the back end. That was a Toro Rosso coming through, and Schiaparelli has to get out of avoided action. I think that was Rick just coming through camera shot. It was Rick just coming through his camera shot. So Schiaparelli, sadly, not going to be taking any further part at this stage, and runs very wide into the pits. Into the pit lane he comes, stills that down very nicely indeed. Rick has just started a lap in the meantime. Plenty of drivers out on that lap, so we'll catch on board with Rick. There's a McLaren just coming out ahead of him, which is V5 HRL, in a yellow flag in Sector 1. I wouldn't worry about that at all. It's probably just people on an outlap getting out of everyone's way. Mitch Emery is also on a lap in the meantime. We'll go right on board with him. 104.9 through the middle sector, so Mitch Emery looking good through turn 13, now through 14. Catches the apex nicely. Little bit of a squirrely back end out of turn 14, but catches it nicely through 15 and 16. Really attacking this, Mitch Emery. Just a little bit too much. Runs over the curb slightly. Will compromise his run possibly into the final 2 corners, but that was nice. Now Mitch Emery through the final corner, not losing anything. Comes across the line, goes 10th with 31.8. Very nice, respectful lap. And I can point out, top 11 separated by less than a second out on track, which is absolutely fantastic to see in Division 1. That comes to show how competitive this division is, as Rick has come through the middle sector with a 104.8. Any improvements on the lap side we'll try and bring you. We are halfway through qualifying. Montana is first, Dream in second, Cantera in third, with Neil in fourth, and Harrison David filling out the top 5. Very close as Rick just loses the back end slightly. Tries to prioritise the run through turn 16. He's not happy with this lap at all. I'm not sure if he's had an invalidation. Looks like he has, and Rick takes the wide out line into the pit lane. So Rick is back into the pits. We'll try and ride on board then with somebody that is on a lap into the middle sector, hopefully. And we'll ride on board with Harrison David. So Harrison David, 400s down through the first sector. He's now onto the back straight through turn 10. Now coming through turn 11 and into turn 12, which is this left-hander, this little left kink that actually counts as a corner at turn 12. 700s up through the middle sector. Currently, they'll only put him ahead of Neo, and I think he might have invalidated there. He has. Harrison David, I think, not happy with that. Looked like a slight invalidation at the right-hander of turn 13. Not happy with this, and I think he is going to bail out of this and come back into the pits, and that is exactly what he is going to be doing. In the meantime, our current championship leader Montana and current provisional pole sitter Montana is on a lap. He's 3/10 up through the middle sector. He's got a slow car in front of him. That's Schiaparelli on a night lap getting out of the way. Good sportsmanship again shown there. Schiaparelli again getting out of the way of somebody else. And 3.5 up nearly Montana through the middle sectors. So the Swiss man really on fire here tonight in Russia. Trying to put amends, of course, trying to follow up on 4 consecutive wins, right from Azerbaijan, and then in Spain, then in it. Didn't really catch that as much. Montana has invalidated, he's back into the pits. And I think he can afford to take an invalidation now rather than later on in qualifying. As Game Boys comes across the line, set 131.3. Very nice lap there. Jumps ahead of his teammate Maslina, who is now in a full-time seat in Haas, which is good to see. Neo coming through the final 2 corners. The German, this is looking good, could go ahead of Cantera here, and it's an invalidated 130.837, and that would have put him pole. If he didn't invalidate there, I think that was through the final 2, that was at turn 17 he did that, the penultimate corner out on track. So Neo sadly invalidates, that would have been pole position for him. Might come to rue that later on in the session, possibly. Cookie Games, that is not what you would like to be seeing, and that's definitely not what you like to be seeing from Cookie Games. Cuts the inside of the corner at turn, I think that was at turn 8 that was. Cookie Games cutting the inside, losing the back end. That's not what you like to see, to be honest. And Cookie Games hasn't scored any points this season so far. The Slovenian recent debutant to the championship. Of course, he did debut at the baptism of fire. That was Monaco last time out. And Cookie Games, let's not ride on board with him. Let's go on board with V5HRL, who was on a lap, but he has backed off. He's 1.4 seconds down on this lap time. We'll go on board with Waluigi then. Current 4th in the championship, 60 points to his name, making the Ferrari team proud, the Belgian, as he comes through. Of course, Leclerc getting pole position in qualifying in Russia. I am very, very sorry if I've just spoilt that for anyone. Leclerc with his 4th consecutive pole position. Hopefully everyone knows that he did set pole position, and I've not ruined it for anyone. 31.2 though by Schiaparelli, sets a nice lap time. Not many out on track at this stage, which gives me a time and a bit of a check to check the comment section. Of course, if you do have any support for these drivers out on track, or if you've got any support from me or any comments that you want to say to any of the drivers here out on track, do come in and say it during the session, during qualifying, and indeed during the race especially. And I will read them out, of course, over the stream. And I'm just going to check through Discord as well as the stream as well. Montana saying ridiculous track limits. Yeah, Russia can be a bit of a pain for track limits. We have only got ILRT Sterling out on track, however, in the meantime. He's just about to start a lap, so we'll ride on board with him. Of course, the current P9 in the championship on 39 points. Oh, he comes back into the pits. As soon as I go on board with him, he comes back into the pits. That is typical, that is just my luck. As we'll have a look at some of the comments that have came through in the Division 1 chat. Basically everyone just saying good luck to everyone out on track. So there we go. Having a look though in the meantime at Discord. not really much happening in terms of the disc gun. There's not really much happening out on track. We're on board with Mitch Emery in the meantime, who is on an out lap. He's the first driver to come out on track. And Harrison David messaging me privately before the race saying my penalty status will be terrible. I don't think it'll be that terrible. I mean, you're in 5th place, 131.136 for his name, 2 thousandths off Neil. Very happy, I think, that qualifying session is going so far. And this qualifying session, I will bring up the interval timings actually now to pick out, and there you go. Top 14 separated by less than a second, with everyone who was actually set a lap under 1.2 seconds behind the current leader, which is Montana, the current provisional pole sitter, which is Montana. There's going to be quite a lot happening out on track in the last 2.5 minutes roughly of this session. Mitch Emery is out on track in the meantime. There is a yellow flag in sector 1. Mitch Emery starts up his lap, 31.8 to his name, hoping for an improvement here. He's on a set of soft compound of tyres. He comes through the kink at turn 1, now runs down into turn 2. Of course, Montana was reaching about 210 under the braking zone. Mitch Emery just shy of that, down into the braking zone, locks up, carries speed as possible, and he has invalidated. Mitch Emery just over-raced the corner there at turn 2 and invalidates on his lap. So let's go on board then with Daka, who was on a lap. Hopefully he doesn't mind me going on board a lap from him in the Mercedes. Game Boy's just in behind him, 2 QVR teammates, or essential esports teammates. They're not teammates out on track because they're running different cars. Daka through the flat kink at turn 3, flat 180-degree corner, then through turn 4, looking very nice through there. Just catches the curb and overruns it slightly. But Daka through the first sector, 600s down, but it's a 32.8 through the first sector, so too shabby at all. Game Boy's in behind, just setting, just going wide briefly there actually in the meantime. Daka is on a lap and he now comes through the section which I like to call Olympic Park corner, as he comes through into turn 9 and turn 10. That on the right hand side, just flying through camera shot, was one of the main stadiums. I think it was actually hosted for something anyways. It was a stadium at the Olympic Park, I know that. Daka through the middle, through into the final sector. He's still down on his time at the minute, provisional time at 131.2. He can improve on that, I think, but it's very difficult, I think, to set the limits. There's a racing point in his way! There is a racing point in his way. It's Neil who is in the way. And Daka gets a 5-place grid penalty. Neil, he should have been watching his mirrors there. I've got to be honest, Neil should have been watching his mirrors. Daka will feel hard judged by. Game Boys is into the pits in the meantime. That is a shame. That is a real shame. Oh, it's just one of those things. Space out on track at a premium, and that sort of thing happens. Oh, that will have to go to a student investigation, I think, towards the end of this. Montana's just started up on a lap. I think Joom is on a lap. He is. 500's up through the middle sector, coming through turn 13 and 14 now. Now into the left-hander at turn 15. Gets up the rise through turn 16. Looking nice, looking quick. Camera shot changes down as qualifying has ended. Game Boy's the only one not to be setting a lap time. Gary Donegan improves, 31.454. Joom across the line, doesn't invalidate to 30.5. Brilliant lap there by Joom. And he could steal pole position for Montana. We'll ride on board then with Montana in the meantime. We'll go on board though with Neil, who is one of the first drivers out on track. I think actually Neil is not down on his time at all. He's a 10th up on his time here, so Neil could put it towards pole position. Killer Blue, Montana's teammate, goes 31 flat, goes 4th for the moment. There's going to be a lot of improvements to find as we see Mitch Emery go up into 5th position, just ahead of his teammate by about a 10th of a second. So now Neo through the final 2 corners. Can he find the time through turn 17 and now through turn 18? Can he find the time to go pole? No, he can't, but he goes second. Great lap time by Neo with 30.7. Montana is 2/10 up. Harrison David goes into second. Montana only 2/10 up. He's got to find something through this final 2 corners to try and nick pole position from Joom. Round the final corner. Oh, he nicks it. He nicks it just in the nick of time. He nicks it. Montana With a tenth of a second, can Cantera do anything? Cantera comes across the line, slight improvement, not enough. Schiaparelli is on a lap, 2.5 tenths up. Got Dakar on a lap as well. He is down on his time. V5HRL comes across the line as well. Schiaparelli comes across the line, doesn't improve. It's a 31 flat, and it's an invalidated 31 flat. Dakar across the line. That's the end of qualifying. Montana, really dramatic ends that qualifying section. Montana nicks it, but just the Swiss run. Will give you the full rundown of the grid as it stands. So Montana out on pole position once again, 800th, but he's got Doom to attend to in second place. Harrison David in third, with Neo in fourth, and Cantera rounding off the top five. Then Maslina, Killer Blue, Mitch Emery, Schiaparelli, and Game Boys, who will be in 10th position now, with Dakar picking up that 5th-place grid penalty. YHYY, Kuki Games, Gary Donegan, and Sterling will all jump ahead of Dakar, who will start in 15th position. Then it's Waluigi. Bit of a poor qualifying from him, if I've got to be honest. He's normally right up there. V5HOL in 17th, and Rick, the only one not to set a time, but the whole field separated by 1.147 seconds. Unreal and unheard of in Division 1. As we now prepare for the race to begin, the formation lap will begin, of course. Do put down in the comment section your top 3 predictions. I will, of course, read them out over the stream. But what a lap for Montana, who nicks it from Doom out on track coming into the race. This 50% race, and I think it's 20, if my mind serves me right, I think it's 27 laps here out on track tonight for the Sochi Grand Prix, for the Sochi Autodrome here in Russia. Of course, it is on the southern seaboard, next to the Caspian Sea. Looking through the comments section, though, Montana saying, for fuck's sake, was way quicker in practice. Still, good lap, pole position. That's all you need to worry about there. Coming in as well, Harrison Davidson, I respect no assist users. I respect everyone, says Montana as well. I respect everyone as well. I think everyone out on track has produced a great qualifying session. Dakar coming in and saying about Neil. Neil decides to park it on the racing line, and I get a penalty. Send Stewart's footage in, and it was caught on stream as well, so that's a bit of an advantage there for you, Dakar. So just send that in, and I'm sure the stewards will be able to have a look at that. Montana as well saying he was also in the way of Cantera, I think, so maybe Neo possibly facing some repercussions there, possibly. Remains to be seen. We'll have a look in Discord. The frame rate drop is insane, says Kuki Games. That's a bit of a concern. Kuki Games starting 12th, of course, on a fresh set of tyres, and that's what we'll do now and see who is on that fresh set of tyres. Of course, top 10 qualifying on a set soft compound of tyres. The tyre wear not going to be really too difficult to worry about here. Downwards, we have YHYY, Kuki Games, Sterling, Dakar, medium compound of tyres for Gary Donegan, Waluigi, and V5HRL. So there you might be tuning in and are new to Formula 1. Welcome. This is League of Europe Division 1. I'm James Head 14, your solo commentator for Division 1, as we are now halfway through the championship. It's round 9 of the championship here in Russia. And just to give you a bit of a guide about the tyres, soft compound of tyres, the fastest compound of tyres early on in this race. There's a lot of lag going on, however, though. And I'm not sure if this has been picked. And this is as soon as we've got into the race. Of course, Rick hosting the session. Hopefully this is just on my end and not on anybody else's. If anybody is experiencing this as well, please put in the comment section or put in Discord about this, because I don't want this to affect the race at all. Well, there we go. Seems to have sorted itself out now, however, as we get towards the rear of the grid and the last cars end up. There is the roller coaster in the background and the tower that overlooks the circuit. 27 laps, as I said, awaits the drivers here out on track for the VTB Sochi Grand Prix, the Russian Grand Prix here for round 9 of the championship. It is, of course, race weekend in real life, and it's now going to be race weekend as all 5 lights are on, and we'll go essentially green. There we go. June gets away to a very good start. We'll have the inside run down into turn 1. Harrison David tries to cut off. Montana cutting off though. Harrison David are going to run 3 wide down into turn 1. June on the left hand side. Montana down the middle. Harrison David on the outside. Who is going to be brave enough into turn 1? Montana and June side by side through turn 1, and Montana somehow keeps the lead. It's all very clean in the background. There's a Toro Rosso spinning in the background. YHYY. That was, I'm not sure who contacted him. We'll have to have a look at that later on in the race. But Montana is under all sorts of pressure. Harrison David does it round the outside. Can it be 2 for 1 round the outside? Surely not through turn 4. Quite a few extending the track limits there. I think while Ouija's lost a couple of positions there to Gary Donegan and Game Boys, and he's losing more positions further down the field. Montana though has got the lead of the race. What a start. Montana defends it like a lion out in front. Harrison David in second early on. June in third. Gary Donegan picks up a 5-second time penalty for corner cutting. That will be ended up at the end of his race, I think. V5HOL in behind. YHYY, the only spinner, rather clean first lap from the front end, as now we're about to go side by side with Harrison David, who's going to have to go around the outside here, through into turn 12, now into 13, very deep braking zone. Montana overruns it slightly. Harrison David could go for the switchback. The Mercedes all over the back of the Williams, now down into 15, at the rise, through 15, Harrison David gets contact on the back end there of Montana slightly. We'll go side by side with one of these again. What a first lap this has been. Best first lap of the season so far. Montana somehow still out in front. Harrison David in second. June losing a position to Harrison David off the line. Mitch Emery has got a great start. Up 4 positions. Mitch Emery. Brilliant start from him. Cantera in 5th. Neo in 6th. Killer Blue in 7th. Sterling in 8th. Cookie Games in 9th. Maslina in 10th. Chapelletti in 11th, Rick in 12th, Dacker in 13th because he's got line of stern down into turns 1 and 2. A little bit of moment there between Harrison David and Neo, I think that was, overrunning themselves at the corner, and June is round. Sorry, it was June that was overrunning himself there, and he lets everyone through up the outside, and there is frame rate issues going on. Montana hangs on to the advantage and now pulls away by about a second. Harrison David in second, Mitch Emery in third. Very good start to this race, however. Cantera in 4th, Neo in 5th, with Killer Blue in 6th, Sterling in 7th, Kooky Games in 8th, Maslina in 9th, and June, after that mistake at turns 1 and 2, now down into P10. He will now settle down into his rhythm, as will everyone else. And everyone else, top 13, all on soft compound tyres, as we'll flick through and go on board with Neo, who was closing in on Cantera, running down the back straight here from turn 10. Down into turn 11, of course, DRS will be enabled this lap, so any moves that get pulled off will have to be done the old-fashioned way in Formula 1. Neo not going to attempt for the move. Cantera brakes slightly later than Neo, but that can compromise his run. The Spaniard now defending off the German in the background. But Montana has got that break. 1.3 seconds. Harrison David cannot afford to make another mistake, I think, out on track. They've got line of stern pretty much. Plenty of cars fleeing through, very wide there in the background. I think that was Maslina in the background, Messina, sorry, in the background, going very wide through turn 16. DRS now enabled onto lap 3. Harrison David sets the new fastest lap of the race with a 1:36.3. Messina picks up a 3-second time penalty on the exit of the final corner. And now with DRS enabled, Montana can now bridge that gap out. 1.4 seconds from Harrison David, Mitch Emery in third, Neo closing up to the back end of Cantera for 4th. Messina getting very close as well to Kooky Games in the background of shot as Rick and Chapelletti go side by side into turn 1. Job done for Rick, and he's up to P11 with Dacker on the back of this as well. Can he get the inside one through turn 3? It remains to be seen. He is going to nick up the inside. That's a great move, that by Dacker. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic commitment by Dacker, and he's up to P12, and Chapelletti struggling in the background, just on slightly wide in P13. But line of stern, not many overtaking opportunities here in Sector 2. We now come towards the end of Sector 2, and on the right hand side, on one of the stadiums, brilliant race so far. Montana has got that gap out to 1.7 seconds with Harrison David in second. Mitch Emery now with DRS enabled begin to close in. Doesn't look like he's got the straight line speed set up though. In the background, however, Messina and June now getting close. Can the Spaniard try and nick up the inside of Messina? Not quite. LRT Sterling on a 1 bar as per usual. Don't question that at all. His connection will be fine during this race. It's Montana who leads though by 1.6 seconds. Not many changes to the order apart from Rick getting that move done. Dacker has gone past through on Chapelletti as well, and apart from that really not really much happening on lap 3 as Montana sets the new fastest lap of the race with a 1:35.6. I think goes a second quicker, as now we've got Harrison David under attack from Mitch Emery. The two Brits are about to do battle. two former champs, Mitch Emery and Harrison David. Mitch Emery now going round the outside of Harrison David. This is into turns 1 and 2. He's not going to commit this round the outside though. Harrison David runs wide. Now Mitch Emery will try and seize the opportunity round the outside through turn 3. We'll try and dive to the inside. There's no gap there for a move to be pulled off. Go past the Fish Stadium they go through the first sector, and Montana pulls that gap out to 2 seconds. But Mitch Emery now is now attacking the back end of Harrison David, and Cantera and Neil coming along with this as well. Possible four-way battle for second, maybe even further down. This train, if you can call it a train, spans pretty much in 2 groups, 2nd to 6th, 7th to 10th. That is the gap, that is the trains that are forming, almost like 2 carriages out on track that are forming here at this moment in time. As Cookie Games is round in the background, has caught Messina, I think, there. Messina, not sure what happened between that. I was caught on board with that late, and Cookie Games will have to rejoin track. Well, Luigi aware of the danger of the car rejoining. In the meantime, there's plenty going on. Messina trying to go around the outside of Doom at turn 13. This is brave stuff from Messina, trying to go around the outside. Doom holds that nicely. Mitch Emery and Harrison David are going side by side. That's all kicking off. Mitch Emery trying to go around the outside on Harrison David. All of this battling, though, is bringing Cantera, Neil and Killer Blue now into contention for 5-way battle for P2 as Mitch Emery tries to go up the inside. Harrison David, 3-second time penalty again for multiple warnings, and now he's going to look in behind him and think, well, I've got absolutely no chance here. He did prioritise that one at the final corner. Cantera on the back of Mitch Emery. This could be side by side down into turn 1. Cantera will have to go for the inside line. Mitch Emery half commits it down the inside. Very, very good stuff and cool stuff there, I've got to say, from everyone. Good respect of the track limits as well. Gary Donegan has gone past Schiaparelli. I think that's down into turn 1. So Gary Donegan now ahead of Schiaparelli as well. Luigi has followed his Ferrari teammate through, and as soon as I said that, Schiaparelli's just gone past Gary Donegan down on the timing screens down the left hand side. But Montana 3.2 seconds. Harrison David struggling with the no assist, relatively new to no assists here tonight. Of course, we do commend him for trying out the no assist, but just beginning to hold up a little bit of a train, I've got to fear. Mitch Emery, Cantera, Neil and Killer Blue, who gets a really good run out of turn 9, now into turn 10, towards the end of the middle sector now, running down the back straight they go, and I think this is going to be quite close actually between Killer Blue and Neil running down the straight. But again, I think Neil, with a much better straight line speed, maybe catching into the dirty air as Doom and Sterling now go side by side, and Doom has got that move done quite easily, in fact. Doom with the overspeed down the straight is up to P7 as Sterling now falls down into P8 and now falls possibly into the clutches of Messina, who was in P9 at this stage. Dakar into P10 with Rick in 11th, so Dakar has actually got back through, on Rick, I should say. So Dakar now into P10, Rick in P11. But once again, Montana 3.7 now 3.9 seconds out in front, as now Mitch Emery is surely going to have an opportunity to get this move done, possibly even before turn 1 happens. Mitch Emery now has got to rely on that straight line speed of the racing point. Harrison David will just kindly back out the move, I think. Mitch Emery goes a little bit deep. Harrison David picks up a time penalty there. Mitch Emery should have picked up a time penalty. Harrison David now going all the way around the outside of turn 3. They're side by side. They're banging wheels through turn 3. Mitch Emery holding this. Harrison David down the inside. Brilliant stuff. Fantastic. Absolutely sensational from Harrison David. That is one of the moves of the season right there. Harrison David up to P2. Mitch Emery having a poor run out with the extension of the track limits gives Harrison David the opportunity to go around the outside of turn 3. That is brave stuff, hanging off a camber of the corner as well. Brilliant stuff, and he's back into P2. But for how long? Because he's got a whole host of cars behind him, and now getting onto the back of this line is Doom, who is in P7 as well, as Killer Blue tries to pull up on Neo. I don't think anyone is close enough down into turn 12 and 13 at the end of the middle sector here. Mitch Emery trying to look for the inside line there. We'll ride on board with Cantera and have a look on his point of view. A little bit slow there, Cantera, just trying to prioritise, I think, the tyre management round here, to be honest. Trying to manage his tyres better than some of the others around him, possibly. But Montana, 4.6 seconds. He has got control of the race and dominating things out in front, as we are pretty much a quarter distance here in Sochi. Round 9 of the championship, I should say. This is really heating up. Montana leads. Harrison David again prioritising that run out of the final corner. Mitch Emery has got no chance to catch him down the straight. Cantera, however, looking for a move down the inside of Mitch Emery. Look at this cascade of cars That's running all the way down to P11 there, that you saw in shop for about 2 seconds. Unbelievable, this race so far. Everyone very close with each other. This is going to be really interesting for the other 2 podium spots. I think Montana is away. V5HOL picked up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, probably for either a corner cut or a track extension, I would imagine. But Montana leads the way. Harrison David in second, Mitch Emery in third. We can try and take a little bit of a breath now. There's not really much going on. Everyone quite close-knit, quite grouped at the minute. From P2 downwards, probably to P5 is Killer Blue, right on the back of Neil once again. Prioritise his run out of turn 9. He's got to prioritise his run out of turn 10. And we see Cantera getting caught on the curb there. Neil can now have the opportunity to close in on the German, the Spaniard. Neil trying to close in on the German, and Mitch Emery going down the inside of Harrison David into turn 13 at the end of the second sector, going around the outside now at turn 14. Brave stuff, brilliant move if he can pull it off, and he has. Mitch Emery on board with Neil there. That was all taken from the other Racing Point's point of view. Mitch Emery seizes the opportunity around the outside of P14. He's now got clear air as Killer Blue and Doom are going to come into the pit, so they now don't want to get caught up in this embroiled battle for P2. Goodness me, this is brilliant stuff. Mitch Emery ran the outside, he's into P2. Harrison David and Cantera now about to go side by side and do battle down the straight here. Oh, we've got to try and take a breath at some point. Cantera trying to go down the inside, not close enough. However, Dakar down the inside of ILRT Sterling gets the move done down into turn 1. Great stuff, and Dakar is in now into P6. There's quite a few cars from that little train have came into the pits. That's Killer Blue, Doom, Messina, Rick and Chapelelli, all going for medium compounded tyres. They can possibly get to the end of this race as well. Hopefully everyone has been enjoying this race so far out on track as we approach the halfway stage slowly. Montana leads, Mitch Emery in second, Harrison David in third. Brilliant racing out on track so far, and it's a credit to everyone who is still going out on track. It is fantastic stuff, and this is what Division 1 is all about. And I do apologise if you can hear a bit of a noise in the background. I am trying to commentate over it. It's my radiator coming on at this moment in time. Lewis Campbell coming in and saying Harry is forming an LOE PRL Legends train here. It is definitely one of that. Definitely a Legends train. And in fact, Cantera just outbraking himself slightly there as Neil tries to get past down the inside. Gonna have to try and bide his time here. Harrison David, of course. Oh, loses the back end through turn 15. Gonna be very costly here down to turn 16 as Harrison David wanted to come into the pits. No, but Cantera makes that move stick. Down the inside of turn 17. Not really a chance for an opportunistic manoeuvre there, I've got to say. And Cantera makes it stick down the inside. Great stuff, and he's up to P3. At this moment in time, it can still all change. And Harrison David now, look at the overspeed. Harrison David going to get back past him, down into turn 1. Harrison David is through on Cantera, and he's up to P3 once again. The battle's still unravelling here in Sochi, and I was going to tweet out earlier on that this could be the race of the season. This is probably going to be the race of the season now. Cantera's still all the back of Harrison David. Not coming up for breath at all with this race. There's quite a few drivers that have pitted. Out of the guys that have already pitted, in fact, Killer Blue leading that little battle could come out actually towards P3 possibly, I think, coming out the pits. We'll just have to wait and see. Look at the timings actually. When I get them up, it's about 29 seconds, 30 seconds from Montana to Killer Blue, so the two teammates about 30 seconds apart. Just keep that in mind as we go through this race. Montana with the fastest lap of the race, 35.6, but plenty of drivers in the 35s actually. Kooky Games getting very close, in fact, in the background. This is through turn 3 and 4. Oh, Game Boys ran the outside of Kooky Games. Kooky Games now on the inside line. We see the battles going up and down the field, as I say. Kooky Games has been into the pits already, while Ouija's getting involved in this as well. As we go around the outside, and Game Boys gets that move done. Brilliant racing up and down the field. Oh, while Ouija just having a bit of a moment there. As now, Kooky Games gets back past Izzy on Game Boys. Down the inside into turn 10. Not quite, as we have pit lane now starting to unravel once again. Gary Donegan's now going to be out in front of this race, but Mitch Emery, Cantera, Harrison David and the leader, current leader in the race, Montana, is into the pits. And I think out of all of this, Montana is just going to be getting out ahead, possibly. V5HRL is going to be very close on exit. Montana wants to speed it. Go on, Montana. Try and speed it down the inside. Is V5HRL going to give him the benefit of the doubt? He will. Montana joins in a little bit of clean air. Ooh, on cold tyres, just has a bit of a twitch there going through turn 2. V5HRL will give him something to think about as we see side by side Neil and Harrison David. Not sure what happened there coming out the pits. Neil on a set of medium compound of tyres, not the Red Bull that he's showing. Coming out on track, and he's going to dive it down the inside of Harrison David once again. A little bit over aggressive driving possibly from Neil. Just got to calm it down a little bit, if I've got to be honest. I think for the benefit of everyone, I think in behind as well. Doesn't want to cause any sort of issues out on track and doesn't want to have a stupid report against him, which he might already do in qualifying. That of course will be that is determined to be confirmed, of course. Harrison David, another 3-second time penalty. Struggling out on track with a no assist, but doing a good job nonetheless. Mitch Emery has got now a second gap to him. Doom is going to be out and Killer Blue, in fact, is going to be in a net P3, net P2 at this stage, because V5HRL Gary Donegan, once they come into the pits, it's going to be Killer Blue Doom for the podiums at the minute. Neil right on the back of Harrison David again. IRT Sterling and Rick going side by side, and Sterling, I think, was on the inside line there down into 13. Gets the move done, he's up to P12. Rick now pushed back down into P13. Cantera getting very close to Messina though in the meantime. Still very close racing out on track as we see Waluigi diving down the inside on Kooky Games. Down the inside, and Kooky Games hangs around the outside, and that is brave stuff. Trying to go around the outside now into turn 15. Just loses it slightly. Still good driving between them. Blocks the inside line. Waluigi going to have to be careful here. Game Boys, as Neil was going through and Harrison David in the meantime. Game Boys into the pits, doesn't want to get involved in that. Neil and Harrison David side by side. Harrison David nicks it up the inside of turn 3. Now Neil on the inside line once again. He's now side by side, wheel to wheel combat between these two. Good space shown. A little bit of an overrun from Harrison David. Now Neil on the inside line, down into P5. Down into turn 5, I should say, trying to get P7. They're still going side by side between these two. Messina and Cantera will be hoping that these two might come into contact, and there's a little bit of an advantage for these guys in behind. Messina and Cantera probably just waiting to pick up the pieces in behind. That's what I'm trying to say there. Daka, Sterling as well in the meantime, just in behind. But Gary Donegan leads, Montana second, V5HRL in third, Killer Blue in fourth, June filling out the top 5, Mitch Emery, Harrison David, Neil, Messina, Cantera filling out the top 10. Wild and wacky races here for a possible race of the season candidate in Russia. And who would have thought that? Lap 11 out of 27, we're better go on to lap 12. In fact, Gary Donegan managing those tyres well, it seems, out in front. We're on board though, however, with this battle for what essentially is a net P5 out on track between Harrison David, Neil, Messina and Cantera. Just splitting apart slightly these 4 drivers now out on track, as Neil now tries to size up another opportunity to get past Harrison David, who is not going to have DRS. Neil will have the DRS now. Everyone's still going round out on track, which is fantastic. Credit to everyone. Track limits may be going to be slightly more than what's expected, but it's Russia. You come to expect at the end of the day. But Gary Donegan leads as we slowly approach the halfway stage. We are nearly at the halfway stage. Killer Blue right on the back of Doom right on the back of Killer Blue, I should say. Down into turn 5, coming through the end of the first sector there. Doom will be hoping for the move down the inside. There is that train again forming up. Mitch Emery not in the champions train, or the legends train, as Lewis Campbell put in the comment section. Neo and Messina right on the back of this, and Cantera. This is going to be really intriguing, this race towards the end. I think we all probably know, unless something happens to Montana, very wide there from Messina in the meantime, his MSX teammate in terms of esports teams, Messina just running wide, and Montana I think should be winning this race hands down. He's going to be about 6 seconds out in front once V5HRL comes into the pits. Once Gary Donegan comes into the pits, they'll be running them two actually will be running on a soft compound of tyres when they come into the pits, and I would imagine they'll be out around Rick Ciappellelli sort of area, I would imagine. But in the meantime, about to do battle for P3 out on track. V5HRL under attack from Killer Blue, but look at Doom in behind. Could be 3 wide down the straight here. Doom is going to have a sensational run. bit of the inside line, 2 for 1 for Doom, down the inside, what an overrun, down the inside, Killer Blue keeps him on the outside, gives him something to think about, yes, Killer Blue down the inside, Doom trying to hang around the outside, the wider part coming through turn 3, Doom on the inside line, Killer Blue on the outside line, still trying to hold around the outside, and he does, brilliant respect between both of them, great wheel-to-wheel racing, V5 Echerel's trying to get back involved in this as well, absolutely brilliant battling out on track, Killer Blue and Doom, P3 and P4, but my god, that was a great first sector for both of them, goodness me. I'm going to have a heart attack by the end of this race. Doom picks up a 3-second time penalty in the meantime. Cantera right on the back of Messina again. Ciappelletti picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. Mitch Emery in the meantime getting past V5 HOL, who's just a little bit wayward out of turn 10. And Mitch Emery is already through. And in fact, V5 HOL giving them something to think about. They run side by side and Mitch Emery now through on V5 HOL and he's up to P5. Just locked up slightly into turn 13. Doom right on the back of Killer Blue. Off the camber of the corner. Catches the inside of the apex. You do not want to be doing that at turn 13. Now through 15 and 16. Up the rise through 15. Then into 16. Now into the final 2 corners once again. Gary Donegan leads out on track. Montana in second. Killer Blue in third. We are more than halfway through. Lap 14 out of 27. What a sensational race this is. As Harrison David is down the inside of V5 HOL at the final corner. Good stuff from Harrison David. He's up to P6 and Neil follows through as well, and there's going to be Messina I think following through possibly in behind as well. V5 HOL don't really want to get in a battle as now Neil just to switch it down the inside. Apologies about the coughing. Ciappelletti is out the race in the final sector. He speeds it into the pit then. I think he's retired that actually into the pit. Doom and Killer Blue once again going, this is really heating up. This is really heating up, and in more ways than one, my radiator's on and I'm absolutely sweating, but still. 14 out of 27. Gary Donegan leads, Montana second, Killer Blue in third, Doom in fourth, Mitch Emery fifth, Harrison David in sixth, Neo in seventh, who was trying to shoot through the middle of both him and V5 HOL. Messina is now into P8, so he has got ahead of V5 HOL, with Cantera now trying to get past the Brit. And V5 HOL now under pressure once again. Harrison David picking up a lot of penalties out on track. Cantera trying to go for the move here on V5 HOL in the meantime, and he's got that job done already. So the Spaniard is through. Again, V5 HOL not going to give it up without a fight. Dakar closing in the meantime as well. Is V5 HOL going to get out of the way? Dakar's trying to go down the inside there, doesn't think about it. Cantera and V5 HOL, and now this is going to impact slightly on Dakar's opportunity for a point scoring finish possibly. Just getting held up. He wants to be right on the back of Doom I think towards the end of this lap. That is not going to happen. He's just been held up here, Dakar. So let's just battle out on track as these two to come through turn 17 once again. Gary Donegan still going strong out in front, and I've got to say that gap has maintained itself over the last 2 laps at 3 seconds between Gary Donegan and Montana, so maybe just the freshness out of the tyres getting, and Montana picks up a 3-second time penalty. You don't often see that as Neo is down the inside of Harrison David, gets that move done finally. That should be job done for Neo. Harrison David though is still going to try and have a go through turn 3. They go, catches the inside of the apex, trying to cut as much as possible of the corner. Come past the Fish Stadium on the left hand side of the track. Neo is still on the back end of, he's now going to try and get on the back end of his teammate Mitch Emery, who is having a great return race. I've got to say, Messina very, very wide there. Messina nearly ending off into the wall. Very close, inches apart. He is beginning to just maybe overrun those mediums slightly. He is struggling out on track, you can see. Maybe he's picked up a few marbles out on track. Maybe those tyres beginning to blister. In the meantime, we'll cut to third, because Killer Blue now getting closed in by Doom. Look at the speed that Doom is carrying compared to Killer Blue. It's round the outside of turn 12. Doom should get this move done, I think. Down round the outside into turn 13. Great stuff. And Doom gets the move done as Harrison David and Neo fled off track. And Neo round the outside once again on Harrison David. He did try and get the move done, but Neo's back through. He's into P6. This is unbelievable racing. Division 1 is really showing why this is the top tier in League of Europe, and I invite anybody that hasn't signed up for this league to come in and join in on the fun next season. Ciappelletti, the only one out the race. Cookie Games has been into the pits again as well, just to pick up on some other things that have happened down out on track. Well, Ouija right on the back of YHYY. Everyone just splitting apart slightly. I think this will be the first opportunity I'll get. In fact, cut that, because Harrison David now goes back through on Neo. and gets the move done once again and parks it on the apex, and now forces Messina back into things as well. Messina trying to look around the outside of turn 3, can be pulled off. We've seen it pulled off plenty of times here before already in this race. Not going to commit the move, however. A little bit of a brick for a drinks break. Goodness me. Zacho just running wide in the background of shot there. For Harrison, David, Neo, Messina, Cantera. This is for P9 out on track. When Gary Donegan comes into the bits, this will be actually for P8 out on track. Or this will be extending down to P8, I should say. From 5th down to 8th when Gary Donegan does decide to come into the pits. And I think he'll be trying to go as many laps as possible before those softs come into play. And I think the softs will probably come into play maybe lap 18, lap 19, 9-10 laps on those softs can work. In the meantime, we've got Kooky Games slowing. Kooky Games is going to understandably get out of the way of everyone that is coming through. That's why the yellow flags are there in sector 3, nothing to worry about. Picks up a 3-second time penalty. I think he can put in something about that because that needs to be removed. Gary Donegan finally relinquishes the lead of the race, so he is into the pits. And is it going to be a sort of soft compound of tyres for him? We'll see. There is a Red Wall set of tyres matching the Ferrari kit. 5-second time penalty being served up as well in the pit lane here for Gary Donegan. So he's into the pits. Right on board though in the meantime with Mitch Emery, who was on the back of Killer Blue, and he's now closing in down into turn 1. Can Mitch Emery get alongside? No, not close enough. However, Cantera and Neil getting on the back end. Messina, Cantera trying to go around the outside, a little bit of contact. Oh! And Messina and Cantera come into contact. I think Messina had the inside line, and there's more contact. There's more things happening now on track. V5 HRL in RIT. Sterling get caught up in a little bit of a frenzy there, to be honest. Not really sure what happened with Messina. He is understandably frustrated, and I can probably see why he's understandably frustrated. Again, a bit of knocking wheels, possibly. Maybe just a bit of a desync going on there, I would imagine. I'm not sure. They will have to go to the stewards, of course. Messina out of the race. Cantera is out of a point scoring position, I think, now. He will have to come into the pits if he has got front wing damage. We'll check on board to see if he has. And he does. He's got right side end plate missing completely. Kooky Games is also off through sector 1 and sector 2. That is a turn 5. Bit of a prelude, to be honest. Bit of a sad postscript, that, I think. Brilliant racing throughout. Messina and Cantera side by side. Going into turn 1. It almost looked like I thought Cantera was going to get the job done on the inside line. He had the inside line running up towards turn 3 if it would have stayed clean. But I'm afraid, sadly, it has to end like that. Hopefully the stewards will investigate that, though, as I say. Mitch Emery right on the back of Killer Blue again. I don't think he's going to be close enough this time around. However, Neo once again very close to the back of Harrison David and goes back through. Not sure how many overtakes we've seen from Neo on Harrison David, and Neo understandably wants to cut off that inside line to try and get Harrison David. He got mugged there once before in this race. Neo doesn't want to make it sure that's the second time that happens. Harrison David right on the back of him though and giving him something to worry about. Yellow flag in sector 3. I would imagine that would be Kooky Games, who is down out of the race. Cantera has retired into the pit lane, so Cantera has retired out of the race. Again, understandably so. Hopefully there's no hard grudges felt between those two. We'll catch up on the Discord after the race, of course. But Montana leading 7.3 seconds ahead of June, who was in turn 3.5 seconds ahead of Killer Blue, and now Kooky Games is out of the race. So 4th retirement out of the race in the space of just a number of laps, really, as Mitch Emery now gets close. He's on the outside line through turn 12, now into 13, heavy on the braking zone. Killer Blue will defend that inside line, runs a little bit deep. Mitch Emery will try and prioritise the run through 14, not looking too bad a lot. Again, just having to fight that back end, but keeps it nicely. And he's got to think about who was the faster driver at this point, because Neo right on the back of this. Are they fighting for the team, or are they fighting as individuals? I hope it's in a very clean battle for P3 out on track. Neo right on the back of Mitch Emery, and Mitch Emery in turn right on the back of Killer Blue. We'll take this we'll take this from Neo's perspective as Mitch Emery, Killer Blue just trying to unsettle Mitch Emery out of the dirty air. Killer Blue defends it well, and Killer Blue keeps P3, but now Mitch Emery just blocks the door on Neo. His teammate might just feel slightly judged by that, but clean, fair racing. Neil now tries to dive it down the inside, gives Mitch Emery something to think about, just warning him, I'm there mate, I am there. I don't want to make this any aggressive between these two, but this should be really great to see between the two racing points. Further down the field, V5H Raval and New Waluigi are getting going. It's 3 wide, in fact, pretty much down into turn 1. As Waluigi has got the move done, V5H Raval has got the move done, and YHYY has been completely mugged up by both of them. 2 for the price of 1, and V5H Raval and Waluigi are through into P11 and P12 respectively, and that is at final point scoring positions, of course. You will understand that I'm now starting to lose my voice after this race. Killer Blue, Mitch Emery, again, fighting. Mitch Emery just again gets caught on that inside apex through turn 14, just catching it and runs him wide of the corner. Killer Blue and Mitch Emery, though, in the meantime, still battling out for P3 out on track. This has been an utterly sensational race to watch. Hopefully everyone has got the same idea about this race. This has really been top-notch stuff out on track. Bit of contact here and there, but for the majority it's been clean, it's been competitive, it's been quick, it's been fast, and it's been absolutely brilliant. Mitch Emery now closing in on Killer Blue down the inside into turn 1, not quite again. I think Mitch just trying to probably prioritise himself at aspects of the track where he is quicker than Killer Blue and try and find out his weakness. Neil just going to run in behind. Oh, I thought Mitch Emery was just going to run into the back end of Killer Blue there. Again, we'll take this from a broadcast point of view. Neil desperately wants to try and get past these two as well. And look who is coming back into things in behind. Killer Blue holding up essentially a bit of a train here. Harrison David is beginning to sneak back into this as well. From what is looking like I thought would have been an unlikely podium, Harrison David is doing a sterling job to get back into this race, and it's now heating up for a 4-way battle for 3rd position. Montana and Doom, I think you can really just see them out at this moment in time. We'll try and go on board. Mitch Emery now around the outside on Killer Blue through turn 12. He's got it done this time. Mitch Emery is through on Killer Blue down the inside, round the outside of turn, well, down the inside line of turn 12, round the outside into turn 13, gets the move done. He's up to P3. Good stuff out on track once again. Killer Blue just runs a little bit wide. Neil now trying to close in. Killer Blue, 3-second time penalty being picked up there. Are Harry and Mitch staying or just racing for one race? They are staying. Trust me, they are staying, and thank God they're back, because it's been remarkable this race. 7 laps to go. Montana leads 8.8 seconds. Juman second, and Harrison David has been disqualified from the race. That is a bit of a failure once again. Harrison David has been disqualified from the race. I think it must have been down to corner cutting. Hopefully we'll get something about that. Honestly, I was just having a look at the comments and I was thinking he's not going to pick up another penalty, is he? And he has. And Harrison David is now out of the race and has been disqualified. That is probably the sourest thing you could possibly ever hope for in league racing, to be honest. A disqualification from a race. It's heartbreaking, but it's how you come back from that heartbreak, which really makes and moulds yourself into a good driver. And I think Harrison David can take the positives of his performance for the majority of this race on board into the next race next week, and I will come on to that, of course, at the end of this race. There's not really much happening now on track. However, Neil closing in quickly on Mitch Emery. Could have dived it down the inside there on his teammate. I would have tried to get past and try and actually extend out that gap a little bit, to be honest. That might have just been me, to be honest. ILRT Sterling, though, down the inside of Rick. Good move, that. Down the inside for ILRT Sterling. Rick trying to go around the outside, but ILRT Sterling always going to hold sway. Down the inside through turn 14. Gets the move done. He's up to P7. Great racing out on track. 6 laps to go. Montana leads. Doom in second. Mitch Emery now pulling away slightly from Neil in 3rd position. However, Neil closing in again. Look at this. Look at the closing speed. Neil's going to get past him down into turn 1. He's already through. Neil down the inside on his teammate. Job done. Signed, sealed and delivered. If that was Stevie Wonder, he would have seen that manoeuvre. Neil up to P3. Fantastic move. Down the inside. The overspeed clearly paying off for him. That straight line speed setup coming into play. Neil was through on his teammate. He's up to P3. Signed, sealed and delivered. Stevie Wonder would be proud. Montana leading the way though, 10.7 seconds from Doom in second, Neil in third. We're on board, we'll go back on board then with Rick, who's trying to close back in on ILRT. Sterling, still that battle for third place will rage on out on track. Hopefully, as I say, everyone has been enjoying this race out on track. Division 3, in the meantime, if you want to have a look, that has ended actually, Division 3, so I can't give you the result for that. But once again, I think this has been the quietest point in this race. It's been the quietest point in this race so far. It's been the quietest point in this race so far. As Montana, in fact, that's the new fastest lap of the race with a 1:34.4. Doom just beginning possibly to lose a little bit of momentum. And in fact, has he made a mistake somewhere out on track? Doom has made a mistake, I think, out on track somewhere. 12.9 seconds. That gap was about 8 seconds, I think. So Doom has made a mistake out on track. I don't know where. I'm about as clueless as everyone else for the viewers. I'm very sorry. But Doom, I think, has made a mistake out on track. He cannot be 12.7 seconds behind on Montana now. I swear that gap was about 8 seconds. But Montana still leads, 5 laps to go, 4.5 if you're being picky. Montana leads, and there is our leader. The first time we've run on board with him for quite a while. And in fact, I'll quickly check through the penalties, as Montana has picked up a penalty. Doom has got 3 penalties. Neil has got 3 penalties. Mitch Emery has got 2 warnings, good stuff. Killer Blue has got 2 penalties. Dakar has got a penalty. Sterling has got 2 warnings. Rick has got 3 warnings, no penalties. Gary Donegan has got a penalty, and he's also served up his 5-second stop go as well. V5HRL with 2 penalties. Waluigi with 2 penalties. YHYY with a penalty. And Game Boys still going out on track. He's picked up 4 penalties, but he's still going round, and that is crucial. As Doom under attack from Neo. All of a sudden, this has really heated up. Doom's tyres must be going, or he's got front wing damage or something. We need to ride on board. Has he got front wing damage? I think he might have right side end plate damage, actually. Has Doom got right side end plate damage? He has. Doom has got right side end plate damage. He must have clipped the wall somewhere out on track. That just gives a little bit more, and now that brings Neo into P2. There it is. There's the wing damage. Right hand side end plate. For Doom, I believe so anyways. Yep, that right side end plate is definitely missing. So Doom has picked up damage out on track and hanging off the camera in the corner. I thought he was going to lose it briefly there. That back end was kicking out very wildly indeed. This is going to be quite interesting now. Doom was a shoo-in, I thought, for P2. This is now going to develop up. Doom possibly going out of the podium positions as a result of contact with the wall. I can only assume that is contact with the wall. But right side end plate damage with for Doom. That brings Mitch Emery and Killer Blue into an unlikely point scoring podium position. And with the penalties, it can also swing either way as well. I think Mitch Emery could come out on top as well out of these penalties. Dakar not out of this either. And with 4 laps to go, well 3 laps to go now actually, Montana comes across the line to start lap 25, so 3 laps to go out on track. These guys have still got just over 3 laps to go. Neil, Doom, Mitch Emery and Killer Blue. So now Neil beginning to press and beginning to press himself to gain out that gap to Doom. Mitch Emery in the background just trying to close in once again, and he is going to be close enough down into turn 1. As now Mitch Emery will come. I'll have a look at that comment that Harrison Davis just made. In the meantime, as Mitch Emery down the inside now on Doom with that front wing damage, gets the move done. Mitch Emery is through, down through turn 1. He's up into P3, but Doom, I think, has got to have to fight this. He's got to leave everything out on track now, the Spaniard. Killer Blue on the back of this as well, and in fact, I think that was just a let through there by Doom. He's got the front wing damage. He lets through Killer Blue. And I think fair play to him, good sportsmanship, but I would have liked to see him fight for that, to be honest. And I'm sure everyone else would have as well. Rick is through an LRT Sterling in the meantime. That must have happened at turn 15? Gary Donegan, goodness me. Gary Donegan out wide at turn 5. At turn 4, sorry, that was. Hitting the apex. Goodness me. And now Killer Blue with slightly older tyres on the back of Mitch Emery. Getting very close here. Down the outside, on the inside line through turn 12. Mitch Emery down the inside of turn 13. Killer Blue picks up a 3-second time penalty as a result, and Mitch Emery gets it through. Got the move done. Turn to negative, intra positive. And Mitch Emery's back through into P3. Looking at everyone out on track. Hopefully everyone has been enjoying this race out on track. This has been an unbelievable race to commentate on. I said last week was one of my best commentaries. I think this has been one of the best races with a below par commentary, if I've got to be honest. Montana leads on the penultimate lap. Neil in second. Mitch Emery in third. Killer Blue in fourth. This is still going to unravel. Dakar on the back of Doom in the meantime, trying to close in. The Spaniard, the Scotsman, trying to close in on the Spaniard. Not going to be close enough down into turn 1, but I think Dakar can just bide his time slightly here and try and get the move. Montana picks up another 3-second time penalty. Second of the race there for Montana. Very unlike him to be picking up any sort of penalties, if I've got to be honest. Killer Blue just losing the back end slightly. Bit of a slide out of turn 4 now into turn 5. Gary Donegan has picked up a 3-second time penalty there. Looking at the comments then that are coming in, I tried my best, hope I wasn't dreadful. You were not dreadful at all, Harrison David. You were not dreadful at all. 2 days practice after 6 weeks gone is hard. Next week you'll be fresher to the game and you'll be better. That's what you've got to think. I was so unsettled from battling, never battle with no assists. Well, battle with no assists, try it out next week. Try it out next week, see how it goes. Still unravels in this race. Killer Blue right on the back of Mitch Emery. Dakar right on the back of Doom, who is maintaining, I've got to say he's maintaining that gap to Mitch Emery and Killer Blue. If these two start battling ahead of him, Doom could come back into the fight for P3. As Dakar just loses the back end through turn 14 there. Cookie Game saying not enough practice from my side. Better race next week, I think, from both perspectives there, if I've got to be honest. Harrison David disqualification. Cookie Games DNFing. Final lap, Montana leads, but Killer Blue right on the back of Mitch Emery. He's going to have to do around the outside here. It's going to be side by side. Mitch Emery on the inside line, Killer Blue on the outside line, and Mitch Emery backs out wisely, I think. Killer Blue having the speed. He's got the move done. He's up to P3 once again. My voice is starting to crack a little bit and it's starting to go. Hopefully we can last out for another lap or so. Killer Blue, Mitch Emery, Doom and Dakar for P3. Could still all unravel. Penalty situation. Dakar has picked up a 3-second time penalty. That could be costly. Montana is going to win this race out on track, barring any mishap. He has dominated from flag fall. Had to survive pressure from Harrison David and Doom earlier on in the race. But Montana is going to be coming out on top, I think, in this race. He's now through the final sector for that final time. We'll go on board, however, with Dakar, who is right on the back of Doom. This is it for Dakar, the Scotsman, and I think Doom, accepting that he's got the front wing damage and accepting that he hasn't got the quicker car, Dakar is up to P5 as Montana through the final 2 corners now for the Swiss man. He will extend his championship lead. Montana cross the line, wins here in Russia, new fastest lap of the race with a 34.1, adds to his point scoring tally. Neo is going to be coming across the line in second. Of course, provisional results, that could still all change. Neo going around the final corner. Great return from him in second. Killer Blue in third across the line. Mitch Emery in fourth. Dakar in fifth. Mitch Emery with hardly any penalties goes second, in fact. Doom drops down to sixth. RRT Sterling trying to go around the outside here on Rick. They're fighting very aggressively into the final 2 corners, and Rick is just going to come out on top, I think. Rick comes out on top from RRT Sterling. Game Boys has retired very late on in the race. Gary Donegan across the line in 9th. V5HRL going to be filling out the top 10 in 10th. Of course, these positions could still all change. V5HRL across the line in 10th. Waluigi across the line in 11th. But a disappointing race from his perspective, I think. YHYY jumps him right at the death. So YHYY gets 11th place late on. That is the Russian Grand Prix over and done with. That was absolute madness out on track. Hopefully, I can now catch a breath and run you through the podium celebrations, which Montana, of course, takes the top step off the podium. Provisional results, of course, anything can still change. But 5 consecutive wins in a row for Montana. Is there anybody that can stop him now in this championship? Is the championship already decided halfway through the season? I'd like to think not, but that overriding sensation, I think, makes me think it probably is. It's starting to get to that point where Montana is now dominating. And here is the final results, the official, unofficial results. Montana takes it out on track from Mitch Emery. Great drive from him in second as a result of the penalties. Neil in third. Daka in fourth as a result of the penalties. Good drive from him. Killer Blue in fifth. Doom in sixth. Rick in seventh. Sterling in eighth. Gary Donegan in ninth. V5HR in 10th. YHYY in 11th. While Ouija in 12th. The DNFs are Game Boys, Cantera, Messina, Kooky Games, Chapelletti, and Harrison David with that unfortunate disqualification. My driver of the day, a very quiet race from perspective from the from running both of them in any sort of battle. Daka gets my vote for driver of the day because of the position gains at the end of the day. I think that was a great performance from him, and Montana, of course, dominating that in front out on track. Let's see what people have been saying then in the Discord. Let me have a look. Messina understandably frustrated at Cantera. Bit of a frustration overgoing there, I think, from Messina. Very good racing though, I think. Cantera just turning in, I think it was more to do with the curb maybe, or a bit of a desync moment with that contact. Hopefully that will get investigated, of course, here going forward. Looking through as well, anything that could go wrong went wrong, says Game Boys. Much stronger performance we're hoping for next week, of course, from Game Boys, and a few others out on track as well. Sterling West saying, I enjoyed when V5HRL tried to drive me into a spun car. Never change. Again, bit sarky comments, I've got to be honest, coming through in Discord there, from my perspective. But, of course, we've got to think that next week, of course, we move to next week, drum roll, the proverbial drum roll, we go to Canada. A very tricky track for the drivers to get used to. We go to Canada, then we're off to Japan, Austria, Britain, USA, Deutschland, Germany. Then we are at a track, Belgium, and then Brazil running off the season. I'm not sure what the ARE stands for. Oh, it's Abu Dhabi. It's UAE, I think. Abu Dhabi. That's where we are for round 16 of the championship. But from me, James Head 14, I will bid you farewell here tonight. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed the race out on track. Hopefully everyone engaging in my enthusiasm for the race as well. Thank you very much for tuning in to Division 1 here of League of Europe. Just look on board finally in the comment section. Could have been a different race if I passed Montana, says Harrison David as well. It could have been, but it wasn't. And Montana takes the victory, a 5th consecutive victory out on track. However, I've been James Head 14. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for watching. And until next time, we'll see you next week in Canada. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.